Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I'm your host, Jody Harrison Bauer, and I am here today celebrating my 4-year anniversary with Voice America. And I mentioned last week that I was so grateful for everybody who has helped me. And I forgot to mention Aaron because I was getting so emotional. Aaron, thank you for holding my hands through this whole process. You and Robert were great, but you were the guy that helped me get on air and said, "Are you ready to rock and roll?" And it just, I felt like you were holding my hand, and you let me believe enough in myself that I could do this. So thank you, Aaron. And I am just so excited to continue with Voice America and keep growing and growing. And I want to thank all of you who have been listening. And if you are new to the show, this is the show where we educate you, empower you with that knowledge, entertain you a bit, and inspire you to live your most fearlessly authentic life. Because if we're not here to do this, then what the heck are we doing here? And sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it's not so simple to be fearless and brave and be ourselves. But if there's anything that you could ever take away from the show between me being on here by myself as I am today, or with my guests who are incredibly brave and smart and inspiring people, that you need to believe that you are enough. And sometimes that gets thrown around. You are enough too much where it loses its message. But I'm here to remind you that you are enough. And if you want to be more for yourself, then do the work. And I say that often about working out, eating better, whatever the situation is for you, whatever your goals are. And it's not always that simple to do the work. And usually, most of us, if we haven't done the work, then we need to find a mentor. Like I found with my executive producer that I had for almost 4 years, who helped me and guided me. And as I mentioned, Aaron kind of giving me the push to go on air, like, "Okay, here's your music. Let's go, Jody. It's now or never." And I'm like, and it reminded me so much of when I started competing in fitness shows in my late 40s. And for those of you who have been listening to the show for a long time, you know that I competed in fitness shows. I started at 47 when everybody told me I was too old. And actually, there was nobody who told me that I should do it except for the coach that I hired who believed enough in me and was close to my age and said, "You can do this," and literally pushed me on stage. And then I went off to win 2 world fitness shows. So that was incredible. And here I am 4 years later talking about the pushes and the gentle pushes and the guidance, and the wings that Voice America has given me to find my voice. And so it's not, when I say do the work, I had to do the work. I didn't know how to be a podcast host. And back 4 years ago, we were just about going into a pandemic. Everybody knew something was going on. And then during the pandemic, everybody became a podcast host. But I'm still standing because I like to believe that what I love to do and what I start doing really well, because I am doing the work, is consistency and learning, listening to other people and taking their guidance and then making it my own. And that's where the authenticity comes. You know, everybody, there are a million podcasts out there, but what makes Voice America different is that it's been around, I think, for 22, 25 years. And it's a live radio show. It's a live internet radio show. So yes, most people listen to it um, as a podcast, I think. I don't have the stats on that. I'm sure I do, but I haven't looked at them. And that makes it unique. And then finding my voice and what I wanted to say to all of you was my unique way of saying it and sending you out these messages. So If there is something that you truly want to accomplish that is important to you, if you have something to say, if you have something to show people, then do the work and learn how to do it. That's how I learned how to become a group fitness instructor, how I learned to become a personal trainer, and how I honed my skills as a personal trainer. I was much more than a personal trainer. I became a coach, I became a therapist, I became a family member. And it grows as you grow, and believing in yourself enough to do those things is where it starts. It always starts in your head. And I mentioned this last week also, because the foundation of having a great foundation to work from the ground up is starting with the way you believe in things, the way you believe in yourself, and the way you talk to yourself, and reframing old thought processes. And that's where I got to this point today, is by doing the work, changing the way I thought of myself, even though I was scared to death of getting on here and speaking, knowing that over 100 countries were listening to this show live. Like, I'm doing this live. This is all live. This is me. So if I forget a word, which happens often, either they help to edit it out, but it's not much editing. It's live right now. So some of the things that I learned, and so much of this surrounds fear, which is why I named the show Fearlessly Authentic, is to, if you are in that space right now where you are trying to learn something new, or you are changing your business model, or you're leaving something to start something new, I want you to know that that's the first step in having a growth mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And taking risks on yourself, first and foremost, is how you are going to grow. And I always use the analogy, the metaphor, the analogy, I think it is, of working out in the gym and lifting weights. You're never going to grow your muscle unless you take that repetition to failure. So you might say, I'm going to lift this weight and I'm going to go to 12 reps. But it seems pretty simple. Like, you're not really breaking a sweat, your heart rate isn't really going up, you're not really struggling, right? So you say, I'm going to go to 15 reps. I'm going to take it to failure. Maybe you'll take it to 20. This isn't about fitness today, but if you can take it to 20 reps, you can go more. The aim is, and the goal is, to go to failure. So we never grow until we fail, unfortunately. We all have to fail. We all have to fall a little bit in order to grow. Nobody gets to where they want to be or where they are right now. When you hear every single success story, it has to do with a failure first, being scared, falling, failing, and then getting back up on that horse and doing it again until you understand what you're doing. And you're going to take all types of ways to get there, and you're going to trip, and you might have your heart hurt, you might have your feelings hurt. But if you believe in what you're doing enough, then you will get there. And I believed enough when I started this podcast 4 years ago that I could do this. I didn't know I could do it, but I had people around me who told me that my voice mattered. And what I learned was that my voice mattered. So your voice matters very, very much. You may not think it does. You may be looking at other people on social media, listening to other radio or podcast hosts and thinking you can't do it. If you are passionate about something, and you are passionate about teaching somebody something, empowering them with something, maybe it's entertaining and inspiring them, then you've got something to say. So think about that. And if it's important for you to say those things, then maybe it's time to start your own podcast, or at least get on social media and share those things and see what it feels like. When I first started, on social media, which was Facebook back in 2009, I think it was. I was so afraid to talk about fitness and health and food and nutrition. And I remember the person I was working with said to me, just talk to your audience as if they're your client. And that's how I talk to you guys every single week when I'm doing a solo show. I feel like I'm talking to somebody in my studio. We may not specifically be talking about these things, but I feel like we have a relationship. And I love to hear from you. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you love this podcast. Share it with your friends and family and people who you think can learn from it, because I am being truly honest on this show, and was sometimes I get myself in a little bit of trouble because I'm being a little outspoken, or maybe I've hurt some, not hurt, but bothered some people with the things that I've said. But I feel like this is definitely the space where we can talk about these things and not be afraid. So if you're starting something new, take that risk on yourself. You deserve it. Another thing that I learned about myself was to share more stories about things that I've gone through to help you, because I'm old enough to have enough experiences to share them with you. And I enjoy doing that. And you all help me learn more about myself so I can bring more authenticity to the show every single week. So I appreciate that from you. And believing in yourself, when you find that voice, if that's what it is, and you want to speak your truth, believe in the things that you want to say. That's where the authenticity comes from. So I learned to find the courage. I was nervous as hell. And at the beginning, I even took a shot of tequila, probably in the first 5 episodes, because I was so nervous. And now I come on here and I'm just very excited. Yeah, I get a little nervous sometimes. It's more excitement about the things that I want to share with all of you. So thank you for following me along on this journey of 4 years. And I hope that I have many, many, many more years to come on Voice America. And thank you for everybody who's helping me. I really, really appreciate it. I was going to go a little rogue today and talk about something that you don't know about me, and something I never share on social media. But when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, I guess that's the teacher in me, even though I've never been a teacher, but because I'm a coach, uh, I love to teach things. My children don't always like when I'm teaching things. They're like, yeah, 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 mom, we've heard that story already. But I do like to always come on here, obviously, with a message and for you to learn something from it. So this is a little different because I've never spoken about this before, and this is maybe a little entertaining for you. But I love reality TV, and I especially love cooking shows. I know you've heard me talk about it. I love cooking shows. Right now, I am binging on Top Chef. I think they've had 20 seasons. I do not know how to cook, and I have never really tried to cook. I mean, I cooked to nourish my children, and I'm not a foodie, so I'm not that person that goes to a restaurant because the food's really good. Yes, I go to restaurants where there is good food, but the thing that I look for also is atmosphere, because I'm always going to get the grilled chicken or the grilled fish, and I'm always going to get steamed vegetables of some sort. And so I find it fascinating. And so I love to binge on cooking shows. I actually watch them. Sleep is another thing. We'll talk about it at another time. But I watch them to help me fall asleep. Not the best thing. I know I'm not supposed to watch TV before bed, but again, we're not talking about that right now. And so I'm watching The Bachelor, and I did a podcast called We're Golden with Kim Hodges at Kim Content, if you want to check her out. And we were we were doing the recaps of The Golden Bachelor, and I think there's going to be a Golden Bachelorette. So we're really excited about that. We'll be talking about it. But I find it fascinating, and I am intrigued by the people who go on these shows. I also love watching The Bachelor and Love is Blind. And I think, as we're talking about fear today, that the courage and the bravery it takes to be on these shows, I know that a lot of people go on there to become Insta famous and all that other stuff, but really, you're really shedding so much about yourself on these shows. And I always thought it would be cool to be on a reality show, but I mean, it's scary. So I am sure that the people who are on these shows, one of the things that I hear a lot about, not necessarily from The Bachelor, or because not because they're so young, but they don't really talk about that afterwards, but on Top Chef, and if you have never watched that show, you gotta watch it, is they walk away with a life-changing experience. And even though they don't win, they're still walking away with an experience, and they put aside their fear. They might have thought they were the best chef. They put aside their fear to do something that scared the hell out of them and came out a better person. And I did that with every single thing that I did, like this podcast, like when I tried out for Sports Illustrated Swim and made it to this top 60 and then made global headlines as the oldest woman to ever try out for Sports Illustrated Swim. I never thought that was going to happen, and then was talking about it for years and years and years. And I can't believe it's going to be almost 5 years. And it's all about facing your fears and coming away learning more about yourself, which is a growth mindset, instead of, I can't do it, I'm too scared. What if I embarrass myself? What if I look like a fool? And you know what? That's what I thought about every single week I came to do this show. So we're going to take a really quick break, come back, and we're going to get into the weeds about fear. So stay with me. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And you could also DM me at Jody Harrison Bauer. So feel free to DM me on Instagram with any questions or remarks, or let me know how much you liked this episode. So I named the show Fearlessly Authentic because I was always a scaredy cat and afraid to take risks on myself. And the biggest risk I ever took was finding the courage to get divorced because I felt suffocated, and we my ex-husband and I just didn't have the ability to communicate effectively. Things were different, and we were young, and that changed my life when I decided that I needed to live in my truth and be fearlessly authentic. I didn't know those words back then, but I knew that I wasn't happy, and I felt suffocated, and I felt like I was drowning. And I know that so many of you who are listening to the show right now can relate to that suffocating, drowning feeling, whether it's at work or in a relationship or even with a friend. And so if you are in that situation right now, that means that your body and your brain are telling you that this isn't working for you. And unless you have incredible communication skills, um, I'm not saying to get divorced by any means, but communication is just so key. And I think that if I could turn back time and knew myself better and he knew himself better, we probably could have worked it out. I don't know. I'm just, I don't know, just throwing that out there because I just look at things like that and I say, you know what, if things were different, right? We all say that, but I don't live with any regrets. I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if I hadn't taken that big leap of faith on me. And that's my point. And luckily, we are talking about our emotions today, in this day and time, and we don't have to feel scared or judged by other people by talking about the way we feel. And I love that. I think sometimes we get too much in our head and that could paralyze us. So, is fear the answer to growing? Is fear the answer to why we can't grow? So I've always thought of fear as something that was going to help me grow, something that I embraced to help me grow instead of saying, okay, it's there and I can't get past it. I said, okay, fear, like we could either be friends or foes. Let's be friends, jump in the car, buckle up, let's go. And, fear is there for a reason. Fear is a natural and instinctual response we have as a survival mechanism, right? We need to feel fear. And if we have any type of perceived threats, fear comes in. And while fear serves on an important purpose in keeping us safe from physical dangers, it can also manifest in ways that hinder our personal growth and prevent us from pursuing our goals and aspirations. And that's what I really wanted to get to. Yes, we need to feel that instinctual feeling of fear. Oh my goodness, somebody's around the corner, or I feel danger, or that heightened feeling that helps us. But we don't want fear to be the thing that stops us. So our brains are wired to detect and respond to potential threats as a survival mechanism, right? We all know that. That's why we tell our kids to look both ways. It's the reason that we signal when we drive. It's for all the reasons that we do things to protect the people we love and to survive certain things, whether it's our heart or it's out in the open, wherever we are, and we feel that feeling of fear. So it's there for a reason, but fear can also be a perceived danger, and that triggers us to fight or flight, which actually is a masculine trait. A masculine energy is fight or flight, and a feminine one is friend and tend. So a woman might say, if she is confronted with, let's just say, somebody goes to grab her handbag, she's in the city and somebody goes to grab her handbag, she might try to say, don't take my bag, or here's all my money, or don't take this. She'll try to talk. A man might turn around, well, or man or woman, if you're in your masculine energy, you might kick the guy, you might punch the guy, you might change the way you might respond in different ways. So if you're in your feminine energy, you might respond differently to fear. And if you're in your masculine energy, it's fight or flight. Whenever I felt fear, whether it was perceived or real, or something triggered me from my past that makes me fearful, that I go into fight or flight. I get scared, I get triggered to that fear. And for people who have done that to me, have expressed a certain or spoken to me in a certain way that triggers me, that makes me go into that fight or flight and maybe causes me to be a little bit defensive, I have had to let them know, hey, listen, when you do this or when you talk like this, it reminds me of a time that scared me. So can you maybe change what you're saying to help me not feel that feeling? So our brains are wired to perceive certain situations or outcomes as threatening, right? So somebody accosting you, God forbid, or grabbing your handbag, even if they aren't inherently dangerous. Fear can arise from uncertainty, from failure, rejection, or the unknown, causing us to avoid taking risks or stepping outside our comfort zones. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. That's what I did 4 years ago. That's what I did with Sports Illustrated. That's what I want you to do in the things that you perceive as scary They're not dangerous, scary, but it's outside your comfort zone. So you fear the rejection, you fear the failure. And you see this going back to the reality shows. You see this a lot on the love, like, The Bachelor and Love is Blind and the other shows like that, where somebody won't open up their heart because they're afraid of being hurt. They're afraid of being rejected. And think about that for a second. Have you maybe held back from opening up your heart in a relationship because you're afraid they might reject you? They might not love you the way you need to be loved. But you're never going to know if the feeling's going to be reciprocated until you put yourself out there. And if it's not reciprocated, if we're talking about love, then you learned something about yourself. You learned that you can open your heart and that you can share your heart and show somebody love or compassion. And maybe they don't return the feeling, but you did it. So the next time it won't be as scary because you know the feeling already. And just like when I started this podcast, I didn't know. I didn't know if I would be able to retrieve the words in my head, and sometimes I can't, or if anything was going to make any sense, or if I would have the right questions to ask a guest, or remember to say, rate, review, and subscribe every single week. I would forget that. But if we don't keep trying, we're never going to find out. So you can stay in that scarcity mindset and believe that there's real danger here. So you're never going to take any risks and you're never going to try anything yourself, or you're going to take the risk and you might fail, but you are going to friggin' grow. We don't grow until we take risks. And yes, we're going to fail. Part of growing is failing. Think about that muscle that you're trying to grow. And I talked about the comfort zone. We tend to prefer familiarity, right? And predictability. So even if you come from a home where there was a lot of chaos, like the home I grew up in, so there was always chaos. So I grew up thinking I always needed chaos in my life. And so after I got divorced, the men I was attracted to brought chaos into my life. And when I met the man that I'm married to now, and he brought peace, I thought, where's the chaos? That was predictable for me. And the impatience. And I didn't get any of that. I got love and I got patience. And I thought, I need some chaos. So for me, that was something that was predictable. It was in my comfort zone, even though I wanted to change it. So until I became really, really aware of it and embraced the tranquility, the peace, then I was able to enjoy it more and not look for the chaos. But that happens to all of us, even in a job. I'm sure you know that person that wherever they go, there's chaos. Wherever they go, there's a problem. Whatever relationship they're in, it doesn't work out. They always have a toxic boss. They always have a toxic significant other. Things always happen to them, right? And it's maybe because that's what they're attracting, right? Attracts, like attracts alike. Like, I'm really screwing that. Like attracts alike. I keep saying that wrong. Like attracts like. So you're always going to attract what seems comfortable to you, what seems predictable to you. So when we get out of that comfort zone, and that's what I learned, that's what I experienced with all of my clients over the last 35 years, is they would come up with either a wall up or they would act as if they already knew everything. And I thought to myself, then what the hell are you here for? Or they didn't listen to me. because the hardest thing for all of us is to step outside that comfort zone unless you are really, really ready to take that big leap of faith on you, to bet on you. And that's where the change will happen. You can hire as many personal trainers as you want. You could hire as many life coach or, business coaches, anything coach, because there's a million coaches out there. And by the way, I'm the best coach, not for fitness. And can we go past the break? I'm going to just keep going. So we're not going to take a break. And if you are looking for a fitness coach, mindset coach, nutrition coach, I'm your girl. And when you find that somebody is not open to receiving, and receiving is a feminine energy, if you find that somebody's not open to receiving what you are offering them, then it makes it really hard to help them reach their goal. And the word comfort zone has been thrown around for so many years. And it lost, when we use the words too many times, it loses its meaning. But staying in your comfort zone doesn't provide any room for growth. It provides predictability. It provides a sense of security and control. So we want to control the way we feel, right? We don't know what the unknown is going to feel like. And that's why it's so important for you to find a coach or a mentor or somebody, or in a relationship with somebody that you can be yourself with. You can be fearlessly authentic with them. Because again, when you're your most authentic person, you've come from a space of growth, a growth mindset, and you're open with your heart and your mind to learn. And so fear comes from when we're confronted with situations like starting a new workout with a new trainer, starting a new business, starting a podcast, starting a new relationship that challenge us and take us outside our comfort zones and require us to embrace uncertainty and change. And in one of my relationships, he liked to ride bikes, and I was never a bike rider. I did not like to go on the road. I was really scared. I was very insecure about the way I was riding a bike on a busy street. And he could not understand why I would be scared to do that. He's like, "You know how to ride a bike. You have a helmet on. What's the worst thing that happens is you fall off the bike?" I'm like, "No, the worst thing that happens is I get hit by a car." I was so scared. So we ended up riding on a tandem bike, but I was in the back and I had no control. So I had to really, really trust him literally with my life. And that was really scary for me. And I had to know how far we were going, how long it was going to take. And I wasn't trying to control the situation, but I was trying to feel as comfortable as I could. And because he didn't have that growth mindset, he was very impatient with, "Well, why do you need to know all those things?" That relationship didn't last. And when I think back, I didn't explain exactly how I was feeling. So again, I've come from a growth mindset, and maybe back then I was in a scarcity mindset in my past relationships. And in the last 22 years that I've been divorced, I've just been growing and taking more and more risks. I'm not here to say that what I'm doing is right for you, but what I am trying to urge you to do is, if you are scared to take that risk, I am here to tell you that you're never going to grow until you take that risk. And I guarantee you, if you are thinking about leaving a job or firing somebody who works for you, you will grow from that situation. It might be a little hard at the beginning because you think that person that works for you is indispensable, that your business cannot grow without that person that you're paying so much money to, who's not actually even producing for you, that he or she is so important to your business. But guess what? We've all let go of people that we thought, "Oh my God, we cannot survive. This person is vital to this business." But I have seen it, and I have gone through it, getting rid of people who worked for me that I thought, She's going to take all of her people with her. I'm never going to have all of these members again. And guess what? I did get rid of that woman because she tried bullying me. And she took a lot of the people that she brought with her. And guess what? It was a little hard at the beginning, but it ended up being a beautiful, comforting, safe place for every woman who walked into the studio, because with her, she brought toxicity. And the women who followed her, her followers, brought toxic energy into the studio. So it did benefit me, and I brought in beautiful souls that helped me grow my business and brought in beautiful men and women who wanted to learn and wanted to grow. So if you are afraid, please don't be. I know it's really scary, but I believe that you have the confidence to do it. And if you don't have the confidence to do it anyway, because you will grow from it. So that's part of the negative belief. Like, I can't survive. I can't do it. I've got to stay in my comfort zone. I'm going to fail if I don't get rid of this person. I'm going to fail if I go out on my own. And that discomfort gnaws at us. And what happens is we allow that discomfort to stay inside our gut, and we can't move forward. And now we're not growing anymore. And we're wondering why our life isn't changing. And it starts with you. When I started my competition life back in 2006, 2006, I remember my coach saying, it starts with you. And I'm thinking, what the heck is she talking about? We're talking about food. But that's what it is. It always starts with you, because everything starts with your mindset, which is what I said last week and what I said at the beginning of the show and what I'm going to say again. It all starts with what you are thinking. So you've got to reframe your thinking and believe that you can. And if you don't believe you can, find somebody who can help you find that you can. Find that mentor and that coach, because he or she will help you do that. So fear is also fueled by negative beliefs, what we were just talking about, and self-doubt. And those are all the things that hold us back. And though we may fear failure, criticism, or judgment, leading us to self-doubt, doubting our abilities and our worthiness, right? How many of you can relate? These beliefs that we've created in our head can create a self-perpetuating cycle of fear that holds us back from taking action. Exactly what I was talking about. Can you relate to that? I'm sure you can, because those are the things that stop us. So I am urging you to try to meditate on it, or find somebody who can help you. Reach out to me. I can help you. Another thing that I mentioned is past experiences triggering us, right? So for me, the thing that pops up in my head right now is whether it's a trauma or, in a relationship or growing up or a job or one of those things. I'll never forget that when I was in gymnastics, I liked the jumping. I liked, the flips and all that stuff, but I didn't like the balance beam. It scared the shit out of me. And I fell off the balance beam because I allowed the fear to really take over. I didn't understand, I didn't know it was in my mind. I was able to do a dismount off of the balance beam. I had done it so many times. But this time, and I remember it like it was yesterday, I was in 5th grade. I was 10 years old. And I fell off the balance beam when I did my dismount. And I never got back on there. My mom encouraged me, but I cried. I was too scared to do it. And I wish that I had gone back God, I haven't thought about that in a million years, you know? I'm 63, so it's been a very long time since I thought about that. But I do remember that, and I never got back on. And I would tell the old Jody to get back on and do it again. And when I realized how strong our mindset was when it comes to fear, that it's not your abilities. Yes, you have to do the work. But when I started competing in fitness shows, I didn't believe enough in myself. And I realized that when I really got into competing, that it was my strong mindset that walked me on that stage, that presented myself as a strong, fit woman that was confident. And that's what they were looking for. Obviously, everybody who's in a fitness show is fit, right? But they're looking for the person who presents themselves the best, who has the most confident, who represents that that person they're looking for. And I was scared, but I had the right coach who made me do it even though I was scared. And I'm working on some projects right now, and I am nervous about bringing them to fruition. And I've had to do a lot of work on my mindset because I know I can do it. It's just that I'm letting fear do its little tricks on me. And so I've been meditating a lot more than normal, and that's been helping me a lot. So if you haven't meditated, I'm not a big meditation person, but when it comes to manifesting, I'm really, really good at that. And that's what I'm working on right now. And maybe that could help you also. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is when I started talking about the past experiences that society and culture play a significant role in shaping our fears and beliefs, messages from media, family, and, social media. We have all those things conditioning that, we can instill fear and feel that we're not measuring up. And so when I think about what I just shared with you, falling off the balance beam, kind of being gently pushed on stage, sort of gently being pushed to the mic as I started my first podcast. Um, I didn't know, I didn't think I was capable or worthy to do it. But once you step into that place and you've done the work, you won't have those negative thoughts anymore. Sure, they might pop in every once in a while, but now you know that you can do it. And the worst thing you could do is compare yourself to other people, because that will always come back to bite you in the ass. You never want to compare yourself, because it's always going to come back as a negative feeling for you. So I've talked about confidence also. Confidence is a big thing. It's really, really big. And lack of confidence um, is is real. That is where I think so much of fear comes from. Fear stems from a lack of confidence in ourselves and our abilities. And when we doubt our capacity to handle challenges, like doing a podcast, doing a fitness show, firing somebody, starting a new business, or achieving our goals, fear can paralyze us and prevent us from taking the necessary steps to go forward. Again, know yourself. Know that maybe you have to do more work to feel more confident in it, but don't let the fear of the lack of confidence stop you from doing what you were really meant to do, that you want to do. And so many times I have allowed my perceived lack of confidence or real lack of confidence to bring so much fear into my life that it has paralyzed me in the past. And that's why getting divorced and taking that big step that I took 22 years ago was so monumentally huge for me because it started to set the stage for the way I wanted to live the rest of my life. And now at 63, I realize that I still have a good 30 years left in me where I can do more and more and more. And I will tell you, for those of you listening right now, that I feel that I'm in the prime of my life. And if you are in your late 50s or 60s, I want to know, can you relate to how you're feeling right now? There's like this calmness of knowing because we've experienced so much, because we've experienced being in our, discomfort and feeling uncomfortable and fearing new situations, maybe moving to a new place and making new friends and having that lack of confidence. But the more you do something, the more you will build your confidence. Again, going to the gym for the first time, going to a trainer for the first time, you're scared. What is she going to have me do? What is she going to make me do? I'm scared. I don't want to feel breathless. I don't want to feel uncomfortable, but Jody's going to make me feel uncomfortable. But that's the only way that I knew to help you grow. So, and they were not confident. They lacked confidence about what to do, which is why they hired me. So don't let something you've never done before stop you from achieving that goal. We were all at one point or another a mess, right? And then we found people that could help us. And then we built confidence. And every single time you do something that scares you, you build confidence. And as you build your confidence, you stop fearing taking the risks on yourself. So I don't want you to avoid doing these things. I want you to try as hard as you can to do them as often as you can, even though you're scared to do it. Because I've been there. I know what it feels like. I know how scary it can be to try something new. And as I mentioned before, I have a few projects that I'm working on right now, and I vacillate between fear and confidence. And I think for so much of in my life, I lacked confidence to do the things that I felt passionate about. And when I finally found my voice, um, things started to change for me. And when I started receiving things, I grew a little bit more. And when I say receiving things, receiving help, receiving suggestions, being open to people who want to share things with me, and nurturing the things that were important to me. I'm a mom. I nurture my children. I nurture them. I give them love. I receive their love, and I watch them grow. And when I opened up my studio, I did the same thing with my clients. I nurtured them. I was tough because they needed tough love, but I also nurtured them. I was open to receiving what they were scared about, and I made them feel more comfortable so I could help them. So if you are afraid to take that leap, I really would love for you to do it for yourself, because you're missing out on the most amazing life that you could possibly have. And it's not just a one-time thing. It's a forever mindset. It's a forever trying to take it to the next level. if that's what's important to you. If you're not interested in a growth mindset, this podcast is not for you. But I'm assuming that if you are listening to it right now, you are interested in growing and blossoming. And I'm going to leave you with this one thought because it's something that I'm also working on. For so many years, I was in fight or flight, which is a masculine energy trait. And I have leaned into my feminine energy in the last year and a half since I closed the studio. And part of the energy of being there is receiving, is nurturing. So I urge you to stand in your truth, be open to receiving love, help, guidance, and taking the risks on yourself because you deserve it. And I love you guys. And please DM me if you have any questions. And thank you so much for listening. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow me at Jody Harrison Bauer. And until next week, go be your most fearlessly authentic person. Bye-bye, everyone.